Ever find that riff slithering into your skull like a sly serpent with a score to settle, refusing to slink away no matter how many times you hit skip? Yeah, Zombie by the Cranberries. It's got that immortal growl, hasn't it? The kind that outlives trends like a cockroach in a nuclear folk festival. Decades down the line, and it's still shambling through every righteous rally soundtrack, every brooding basement dweller's lair, every seedy saloon speaker system, goading you to dredge up the wrath. But scrape off the scab and blimey, there's a witch's brew of Emerald Isle anguish stewing beneath, spiked with detonations, vetoes, and a howl that could splinter spectacles from here to the hereafter. Linger a bit, because we're exhuming the muck that spawned this undead ditty, and mark my words, it's got more kinks than a banshee's bad hair day after a bender. Let's rewind to the spark that lit the fuse. Picture this, it's 1993, and Dolores O'Riordan, that pint-sized powerhouse with a Limerick lilt, is holed up in her apartment after a grueling tour with the Cranberries. She's flicking through the telly, probably nursing a cuppa, when bam! News footage hits like a brick. 2 bombs explode in Warrington, England, courtesy of the IRA, ripping through a Saturday shopping crowd. Trash bins turned into shrapnel storms, and in the wreckage, 2 kids gone. 3-year-old Jonathan Ball, out buying a Mother's Day card, and 12-year-old Tim Parry, just grabbing some shorts for footy practice. Senseless, gut-wrenching stuff. Dolores, fresh off the road and already simmering with that Irish fire about the Troubles. You know, that decades-long nightmare of sectarian strife in Northern Ireland. She grabs her guitar and pours it out. Another head hangs lowly. Child is slowly taken. That's the opening gut punch, straight from the headlines, mourning those wee ones snatched away. She scribbles the lyrics in a fury, the melody coming hot on its heels. All heavy distortion and yodeling wails that sound like a banshee channeling Kurt Cobain. What if she'd just switched off the TV and gone to bed? We'd be missing an anthem that slaps harder than a faceful of Atlantic spray. But no, Dolores channels her rage into Zombie, calling out the mindless cycle of violence. Those zombies trudging through history, brains switched off, repeating the same bloody mistakes since, well, forever. Now the band themselves? They weren't exactly plotting world domination from a castle turret. Formed back in '89 in Limerick, that's Ireland's gritty underdog city, not the Limerick you recite at parties, as the Cranberry saw us. Bunch of lads, brothers Noel and Mike Hogan on guitar and bass, Fergal Lawler thumping the drums, and originally some bloke named Niall Quinn warbling up front. But Quinn bails and instructs Dolores in 1990, barely out of her teens, with a voice that could curdle milk or melt hearts, depending on her mood. They shortened the name to the Cranberries. Clever, right? Like the fruit, but with a tart edge. Their debut album, Everybody Else Is Doing It, So Why Can't We, drops in '93, full of dreamy jangle pop like Linger, which sneaks up the charts thanks to MTV rotations that make them accidental stars. But Zombie? That's the pivot. Dolores insists on this heavier sound, ditching the ethereal vibes for something that growls. She records those iconic yodels, in your head, layering them like echoes in a haunted house. The boys in the band? They're all in, but producer Stephen Street, fresh off the Smiths and Blur gigs, cranks the distortion to 11. Fun fact, Dolores wrote it on an acoustic guitar first, all folky and raw, before they electrocuted it into the monster we know. Imagine if they'd kept it unplugged. It'd be like serving Guinness flat. Blasphemy. Fast forward to the album saga, and No Need to Argue bursts onto the scene in October '94 like a firecracker in a library. This is their sophomore effort, and boy does it argue its case. Recorded in London's Magic Shop studios amid the Britpop frenzy, but the Cranberries are carving their own lane. Irish alt-rock with a conscience. Zombie leads the charge as the first single, dropping a month earlier, and it's a sonic U-turn from their debut's whimsy. Heavier riffs, angrier lyrics, Dolores belting like she's exorcising demons. The album sells like hotcakes, over 17 million copies worldwide, triple platinum in the States alone. But drama? Oh, plenty. The band tours relentlessly, but whispers of tension bubble up. Dolores' health dips, exhaustion sets in, and the pressure of sudden fame turns their dream into a treadmill. And that video? Directed by Samuel Bayer, the bloke behind Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. Dolores painted gold like a Celtic goddess, standing before a cross, intercut with kids in war paint and real footage of British soldiers patrolling Belfast streets. Raw, unflinching stuff. But here's the kicker. The BBC and Irish broadcaster RTE get squeamish. They ban the original cut or demand edits, scrubbing the political bits because, you know, can't upset the apple cart during the Troubles. Dolores? She's unapologetic. It's not about taking sides, she says in interviews. It's about the innocence lost. Yet critics accuse them of glorifying violence or being too naive. Satirical swipe incoming, as if a band named after a berry could plot a revolution. Please, their biggest threat was making you crave cranberry juice mid-mosh. But let's talk ascent to legend, because Zombie doesn't just climb charts, it conquers them. Tops the pops in Australia, France, Germany, even hits #1 on the US alternative airplay. The Cranberries go from pub gigs to stadiums, sharing bills with the likes of Oasis and Radiohead. That Late Show with David Letterman appearance in '94? Dolores struts out in leather, hair cropped, yodeling her heart out, seals their stateside superstardom. Awards roll in. Best Song at the '95 MTV Europe Music Awards, beating out Michael Bloody Jackson. And the ripple effects? This tune becomes a blueprint for protest rock in the '90s, influencing everyone from anti-war anthems to grunge outliers. But obscure nugget alert, did you know Zombie weirdly blew up in Thailand? Yeah, random as a pineapple on pizza, but it became a staple in karaoke bars and protests there. Maybe because that universal rage translates across oceans. Another quirky bit, the song's 1916 shout-out. That's nodding to the Easter Rising, Ireland's botched rebellion against British rule, where violence begat more violence in a zombie-like loop. Dolores slips it in to hammer home the history repeating itself. Tanks, guns, bombs, same old story since World War I. What if the Brits and Irish had settled it with a sing-off instead? We'd have harmony, not headlines. As the '90s rage on, the Cranberries ride the wave, but cracks show. Dolores battles anorexia, the band cancels tours, but Zombie endures like a stubborn hangover. Fast forward to the quirky aftermath, and this song's got legs. Undead legs, if you will. Covers galore. Metal bands like Bad Wolves in 2018, who plan to feature Dolores herself, but tragedy strikes. She passes away that January from accidental drowning, age 46, right before recording. Heartbreaking twist, but their version tops charts anyway, donating proceeds to her kids. And get this, the original video hits 1 billion YouTube views in 2020, first for an Irish act. Pop culture devours it. Sampled in hip-hop, blasted in movies like Click or Army of Darkness, even twisted into memes during zombie apocalypse flicks. Though irony alert, it's got zilch to do with actual zombies. No brain-munching walkers here, just the metaphorical kind shambling through endless conflict. Satirical jab, if George Romero directed the video, it'd be less gold paint, more gore, but then the BBC would have really lost their lunch. And obscure trivia? In 1995, during a Dublin gig, a fan rushes the stage mid-zombie, hugs Dolores, and security hauls him off. Turns out he was just overcome. No harm, but it sparks rumours of staged antics. Nah, pure passion. Or how about the stage adaptation? Yeah, some theatre troupes in Ireland turn it into anti-violence plays, kids reciting lyrics like Shakespeare with distortion pedals. Ripple on culture. It sparks debates on Irish identity, inspires graffiti in Belfast peace walls, even gets name-dropped in UN speeches on conflict resolution. Who knew a berry band could school the world on peace? But let's not sugarcoat. The Cranberries' genius shines through Dolores's raw talent. That voice, shifting from whisper to wail, unpacking phrases like, "What's in your head?" to question the blind hatred fueling bombs. It's respectful rage, wrapped in a riff that hooks you forever. And the band's legacy? After Dolores's death, the lads release In the End in 2019, using her final demos, a fitting farewell. Zombie still marches on, soundtracking revolutions from Hong Kong protests to anti-war rallies worldwide. All right, Vault Dwellers, if this tale of turmoil and triumph got your blood pumping, or at least made you chuckle through the chaos, smash that like button like it's a zombie skull. Subscribe for more rock lore that'll rattle your cage, and drop a comment. What's your wildest zombie memory? Did it blast at your prom or wake the neighbors? Until next time, keep the fire alive, because in your head the music never dies.